Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So I'm back with my full review of the LG V60 ThinQ 5G. We're just going to call it the V60, if that's all right with you. Now, other than the long name, there are a lot of other things that are interesting about this phone, like what you get, the power, the performance, this beautiful display. It's a solid, gorgeous looking phone, and it's only $799 as opposed to the much more expensive Samsung Galaxy series or the much more expensive iPhones. There's a lot of stuff out there that costs more money, but this brings a lot to the table and it competes directly with both of those and has a lot of the same things going for it. You got 5G, you got a 5,000 milliamp battery, you've got this huge 6.8-inch OLED display, and even a second screen. Yes, 2 screens. It opens up. It's a folding phone, if you so choose, and I'll show you that later in the video. Now, before we get into the full review, I do want to say, if this is your first time stopping by the channel, thank you for being here. I appreciate you watching. If you enjoy the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell so you can get updates on the latest videos when they come out. Now, let's take a look at the V60. All right, so taking a look at the V60. Now, LG has had 2 different phone lines for the longest time. They've had the G series and the V series. The G series is like their normal flagship tier phone, the G5, G6, G7, G8, all that good stuff. And then what they did was to make a larger phone that had some more cutting edge technology, kind of to compete directly with the Note. They came out with the V series, starting with the 10 increments, so the V10, V12, V30, blah, blah, blah. Here we are now with the V60. So this is actually a really solid phone. I like it a lot. There's a lot of things that I do really like about it. And had this come out before the Samsung S20 Ultra, I probably would have been more inclined to buy this for many reasons that I'm going to talk about in this video. But it competes directly with it and the iPhone as well. This is a top-tier flagship phone. And some people will try and say that it's a mid-tier phone because it only has a 1080p display. Don't listen to them. It doesn't matter. I've been using a QuadHD Plus phone for the longest time. I don't even skip a beat. I don't notice it at all. It still looks gorgeous. It's got great color saturation, got great accuracy. It looks natural and it's really vibrant. It's a wonderful display. It looks good. 6.8-inch OLED panel. There's nothing that's not flagship about this phone. You've got the Snapdragon 865 processor, which is the latest and greatest. But it looks great, it's pristine, and then you get the matching second screen display, the dual screen, if you decide to go ahead and buy that. So you've got that going for you as well. Now, form factor wise, you've got the microphones all the way around it. It has complete directional audio. So you've got 4 microphones on here. It works really well. It's really accurate. I was doing some testing and I walked outside and I was walking around shooting some video outside and I was really, really impressed. I think it sounds better than the microphone pickup even on the Samsung, even on my previous Note 10 Plus that had the directional audio on it. So really good there. It's got the 32-bit quad DAC audio experience. It's still got the headphone jack on the bottom, which is something that LG is known for. People love them for that. If you've got a set of hardwired earbuds, it has a DTS-X experience in it, directional audio, great high fidelity sound. It sounds so good. So if you've still got wired headsets at home, you're totally going to love this thing. Now, in addition to that, it's running the latest and greatest Android 10. You can set it up. It comes straight out of the box with the full swipe gesture experience, which is something that the LG G8 and the V50 were lacking. So I was really excited about that. It is running LG's skinned version of Android, but it's gotten better. This is probably the best iteration of it so far. There's a lot of different cool things you can do in the menu. You can set it up where it has an app drawer. It doesn't have an app drawer. You can have it swipe left and right like a carousel, so it keeps looping back around. You can adjust the second screen up here to where it shows just a bezel and it doesn't have the teardrop notch cut out, or you can have that in place. There's a lot of flexibility that it gives you in setting up the individual user experience. It has the biometrics. It doesn't have facial recognition, which is probably my biggest ding for this phone. I like facial recognition, especially when it works well. You have a infrared fingerprint sensor on here, so it's under the screen. You push your finger, you put your thumb down, whatever finger you register, it lights up around your thumb. It works really well. It's fast and it's accurate. The only time you'll ever have issues with it really is if you have any water on your screen or your hands are wet after you just washed them. that's an easy fix. I find that it is faster and more responsive than the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor on the Samsung Galaxy S10 and S20 series. So I like it. I mean, the OnePlus 7 Pro has been using it for a while. Even they had it in the OnePlus 6T. So this technology has been around a little bit longer, and it's not as high tech as the ultrasonic that's on the Samsungs, but this just scans your fingerprint, you're good to go, works like that. I really don't have any security concerns, but I do wish that it did have facial recognition. Now, other than that, it has the Google Assistant button on the side, which is really nice. It's just there, and you've got the dedicated button that's out of the way. There's enough spacing between that and the volume buttons that you don't have to worry about accidentally pressing it. So it's really nice in that regard as well. And it's there if you need it. The overall design I like. USB-C on the bottom. You got the downward firing speaker here. You have a total stereo immersive sound experience because you have the sound comes out of the handset speaker up here and on the bottom. So that's good. You have a 5,000 milliamp battery in this thing, which is just monstrous. Now, talking about 5,000 milliamp batteries, that's what they've got with the S20 Ultra. It's also in here. It needs every bit of it. Now, it does get good battery life. I don't want to make it seem like it doesn't, but when you talk about having a 5,000 milliamp battery, if we said that a year or two ago, you would expect it to last like 3 days. It needs that battery because the Snapdragon 865 uses a lot of power, but also because of the 5G antenna. If you're out and away from home, or you're not on a Wi-Fi signal while you're at work or while you're out, the 5G antenna does use up a lot of battery. So I found that I'm getting about 5.5 to 6 hours of screen on time with Wi-Fi turned off. You get longer than that with the Wi-Fi turned on, so it's nice, but 5.5 to 6 hours, you would think that you would get more out of that. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is more than you need. A lot of the new flagships have 10, 12 gigabytes, all that good stuff. The thing with RAM is, and I talked about this in my previous video, if you're not using it, it doesn't matter. It's not something that just sits there and it gives you this available power. It's just a nice little thing that they put on there that says, makes it seem like it's better than it really is. So 8 gigabytes, perfectly fine. When it comes to storage space, it does have 128 gigabytes of storage on it, which is perfectly fine because it has expandable SD card storage. All right, talking about the cameras on this phone, it has only 2 cameras on the back. It doesn't have a telephoto lens. It only has the primary shooter, which is 64 megapixels, and then you have a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera on here as well. So you can take ultra wide pictures, you can take regular pictures, you can take your portrait mode shots, which it takes really good portrait mode shots. I like the camera. Is nice, it's snappy. You have Pro mode in there, which is something that the LG phones are known for. They had this on the G7 and the G8. The point and shoot camera is good. I think that it's pretty accurate. It's probably the best one that LG has ever had. But if you want to take your camera game up a notch, you can go into the Pro mode and you can take even better camera shots, just like you could with the regular like DSLR camera. You can adjust all the white balance, the ISO, the exposure stuff. You can do pretty much whatever you want, and you can take some really, really good pictures if you know what you're doing. I'm more of a point and shoot kind of guy, so I do appreciate that if I need to use it for something, maybe if I want to get a better focus on something, if there's a lot of light outside and it's difficult, but overall, I think that's pretty good, and the portrait shots are really, really nice. It takes really good portrait shots. I was impressed, and not only do you get the portrait shots on the primary shooter, you also get portrait shots with the 10 megapixel selfie camera on the front, which I also thought was impressive. And I think what I like the most about the cameras on this phone is that it has really, really good natural colors. It's very accurate and true to life. And I think it looks better than the iPhone or the Samsung. Samsung likes to do all their stuff. They like to make everything look oversaturated. Their screen, their camera shots, all that stuff. It looks really vibrant, but it doesn't really look true to life. And then with the iPhone, I always feel that they look a little yellowish. And they do look very natural, especially as opposed to the Samsungs. But I think that the LG V60 sits right in the middle, and it gives you fantastic color balance, great contrast, great color saturation, good edge detection. And you can see here some of the photos that I took. It's great and outdoor lighting, and the greens look really nice, all the different colors. I was really, really impressed with it, especially for the price point at $799. Here we are in 2020. A lot of the other flagship phones that you're talking about for the iPhone 11 Pro is $999. The Pro Max is $1199. To start off with the S20 series with Samsung, you're looking at $999, then $1099 and $1399. So respectively, I think that LG did a really good job with pricing this and also with the available features that are in there. So yeah, it doesn't have the telephoto zoom, but I was able to take some photos with it because it has the digital zoom. And when you're in the camera interface, you can touch on the zoom and it'll cycle between widescreen, normal exposure, and then also 2x zoom on there. So you can zoom in further than that, up to 10 times digital zoom. But as you can see with the picture, it actually turned out pretty good whenever I was taking some pictures of like the flagpole across the street downtown, and the clarity is still pretty good. So you don't have to feel like you're left out. It just doesn't have the optical zoom, the telephoto zoom lens that's on there. Talking about the video capabilities on the back here, because it has a Snapdragon 865, it's capable of shooting 8K video at 30 frames per second. So that's really nice. It does take up a lot of space. Shooting 8K video at 30 frames per second is about 600 megabytes per minute of video. So that's quite a bit. If you're going to be shooting anything in 8K or even in 4K, you're going to want to throw an SD card in here because you're going to eat up your internal storage pretty quick, especially if you have apps and photos and all that other stuff on there as well. All right, a couple other things I want to talk about now that we've talked about most of the primary features. First and foremost, it has Wacom Wacom stylus support. I was a little disappointed. I went out and I bought one. I ordered it off of Best Buy. It was $20. I wanted to test it out because I had to spend my own money to get the stylus. And then whenever I went and picked the stylus up, I found out it was just the one with the little rubber tip that works on like all phones. So if you want, this has pen support on it, so you can use it for like memos, drawing, stuff like that. Very similar to the Note, but you need to have a Wacom stylus. They start off at about 40 or 50 bucks. I was going to order another one, but I didn't want to make 2 trips back to Best Buy and spend even more money. So I was going to illustrate that, but I'm just going to tell you about it. It does have pen support. It does also have an FM radio. You can plug in your earbuds, use that as the antenna, and also listen to it. So you have that feature, which is kind of nice and not really in a lot of flagship tier Android phones. It has wireless charging. It also has power delivery 2.0. It has a 25 watt charger that's in the box with it, so that'll get you recharged quick, fast, and in a hurry. Now, when it comes to using the dual screen on here, it's really nice. There are certain things that I like about it that I like even better than my Samsung Galaxy Fold. So for instance, when you use the Galaxy Fold and you have the screen open up, you can only use one active app at once. Now you can have up to 6 windows open at the same time when you have the screen open, but when it comes to the LG V60, it's like having 2 different phones glued together. So if you want to run Twitter on one phone, on one screen, you want to run your internet browser on the other, you want to put YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever, you can use both of them independently at the same time, as opposed to being limited to just one app. So that's one really nice feature. One of the downsides to having this second screen, though, is it siphons off the battery from the phone. Now, it has a special mag lock connection on the bottom. You see little pins down there. Now it connects with the magnet. That works. You've got an opening for the speaker down here. You've got an opening for the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack down here. I think they were a little short-sighted with this because, one, it doesn't come with a cable that fits in there, and I tried using 2 or 3 different 3.5 millimeter cables, whether it was a 90-degree angle or the straight plug, and they wouldn't fit in there because the opening for the port is too narrow. So you kind of can't listen to your earbuds if you want to use the quad DAC and plug your headphones in unless you take the phone out of the case. So that's kind of a downside there. Another thing with this dual screen is the buttons are on the back over here, which is perfectly fine when you're holding it like this, but not so much when you're holding it like this. So it is a little kind of a pain in the rear end to get to them. You can fold the screen all the way around to the back. It turns off the second screen, and then it's just like using a normal phone, which is nice, but you have to worry about scratching up the screen on the back because there's no raised bezel, there's no screen protector on here, none of that stuff. So you need to be careful with that. If you place it down, you don't want to worry about scratching it up. So one other cool thing about the phone is that you can use the LG gamepad experience that's on here. So it comes with some games on here already that are designed for use with it, and you can use the setup that's on here, or you can also customize it and set it up with your own buttons, your own joystick layout, all that good stuff. Now, some other nice features that you can do because you have dual screen support is you can set it up to where it will display across both screens. So this is wide view, and if you use the Whale browser that's already built in here, it's under the folder for dual screen apps, you can use it to where it splits the display across both screens. So that works for some games, and that also works for the browser. And I think you can find some other apps that support it as well, but it's really nice that that works. The only issue that I have, of course, is this little divider that's here, which is the hinge for the case. It's not a foldable screen, it's a folding screen. So since you have two screens that are working independently here, you're gonna have to deal with the hinge life, poor first world problems. But to get this extra capability for an additional $100 on top of the normal price point, it's totally worth it to me, and I've been enjoying it. It's very easy. You can swap apps back and forth from one screen to the other, or you can turn off the display over here, and then you can set up the display brightness to where it works independently. So you can have one brightness for this screen, one brightness for this screen, or you can have it where it just copies the other one, and it works that way. But it's really nice for watching things on like YouTube. You can have it set up where you've got YouTube showing on the top of the screen, and then you have another app open, or you can do comment stuff on the bottom of the screen. It's just really nice, and it's versatile, and it's just an extra thing that you can do with this phone. All right, so the dual screen life is not always what you would think it's cracked up to be. It is nice being able to have the split screen viewing experience, even though there is the hinge that goes right down the middle. When you're trying to type, if you have the LG keyboard on here and you leave it by default, it's perfectly fine. You can go and leave a comment on here, and then it pulls up the keyboard on both sides of the screen. It splits it kind of down the middle, so you can type this way, but it's not supported with text messaging. So if you want to use like texting, you want to use Instagram, if it's not a dual screen supported app, and not all are, then you're stuck using just the one side. So you can flip it around like this, which is perfectly fine, and then you can type that way. But then when you open it back up, it doesn't default back to where it was. So then you have to reset it back up again. As you can see, it is nice. You have it set up like this. You can flip it this way. You can flip it this way. Now, it's not always that easy. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain in the rear end, but otherwise, it's really cool, and it's a nice feature that you can use with the dual screen. All right, so that's all I have on my review of the LG V60 ThinQ 5G, the brand new 2020 flagship for LG. I do like the phone. I like it quite a bit, especially because of the price point at $799 or $899 with the dual screen. They really did a good job. Of course, it would have been nice if they had the third camera in there, or if it had the facial recognition, or if it had the QuadHD Plus. There's those little things that I need to go ahead and mention, or if they'd gone the extra mile and put a higher refresh resolution with the 90 or the 120 hertz. But I don't really feel like those things are critical, because a lot of people don't really care about it all that much. The resolution is kind of a non-talking point, non-starter for me. The refresh rate would have been nice, but if you look at other phones that are doing it, which are very few, most people don't care or notice the difference. And if you're not using the higher refresh rate all the time anyway, I go back and forth between my Galaxy S20 Ultra, which has the 120 hertz. Yeah, it's nice, but I've been using this for the last 2 weeks, and I really don't miss it at all. So not that big of a deal, and I'd much rather pay $799 than $1399 any day of the week, or $1099. So there's trade-offs whenever you look at the different phones that are available out there. But with what this brings to the table, and then the versatility you get if you opt for the second screen, I think it's kind of a no-brainer for me at the $799, $899 price point, as opposed to the $1,000 to $1,400 price point. So that's all I've got. If you got any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comments section. I'll get back with you. Like I said in the beginning, if you liked the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell so you can get updates on the latest videos when they come out. As always, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you guys next time.